Welcome once again to 15241 Today Talk, subtitle Jim and Lanny on Stage. And today we're at the Boys Middle School for our interview with the athletic director, Upper St. Clair High School, Kevin Deitrick. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Let me start by asking you, how was it that you decided that you wanted to become an educator?
Well, let me first say thank you. This is actually, I feel somewhat intimidated here because I'm sitting with two legends here at the all-time winningest football coach and the voice of the Pirates and someone that I grew up listening to all my life.
Thank you.
So if I make some mistakes, it's due to intimidation. But, getting into education, it's something I always wanted to do. My grandfather was actually the first lay superintendent of Catholic schools here in the Diocese of Pittsburgh. And in fact, we always laugh that our student section against Mount Lebanon, and we always, say that they don't have buses, is one of those reasons is my grandfather, because he was the superintendent of Catholic schools when he made all the Catholic schools bus the Catholic schools, and Mount Lebanon said no. So I feel like I was part of that St. Clair-Mount Lebanon rivalry when I was a little child. So, but it's always been something that I've wanted to do. I always dreamt of just being a teacher and a coach someday, and I've been able to do that, and I get along better with kids than I do adults, and that doesn't speak much for my social life, but I know I'm in the right spot.
At Upper St. Clair, one of the areas is one of the country's greatest school districts.
Absolutely. St. Clair gave me a start back in 1998, and I was very happy at Duquesne University, and Duquesne was really great. I got to spend all my time with the student athletes. They actually let me teach history, a couple courses there, and I would not have left Duquesne University for any other school district in Upper St. Clair.
What is the key to being a good athletic director?
I think care and passion. I think that you have to care about all the sports. It's not just 2 or 3 sports. It's funny because I have my coaches meeting next Monday, and one of the things that we're going to talk about is they always have the cup that rank all athletic departments throughout the year. And it's nice because they don't just take, football, basketball, or baseball. They take every sport, whether it's boys tennis, girls tennis, lacrosse, and everyone gets points. And we finished 7th last year. And part of our talk on Monday is how do we get from 7 to 3 or 2 or 1. So, and to do that, every sport has to matter. So every team, when we celebrate, when football wins a championship, and we've been blessed to have many, we're also going to celebrate when boys tennis has their championship as well.
Jim?
Well, Kevin, it was a privilege working with him my last 2 years. He's very intense, and which is good. When he talks about moving the athletic department up the chain, he lives it. And trust me when I tell you, he's not a clock watcher in any way. 3 o'clock in the afternoon does not mean let's get out of here. It means we're going to start the activities in the athletic department that may run till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night till he closes up the stadium after a game, be it soccer or football or whatever. But he's an intense guy. And he's the one thing that struck me when he first came back as our athletic director, he was upset because he couldn't have more time with the kids. He wanted to spend time in the cafeteria, and he wanted to organize the student section. So rather than me go on and on about that, why don't you tell us about your thoughts as far as interaction with the kids?
Well, when we talk about Upper St. Clair, it is student-centered, and not every school district. A lot of school districts say that, but St. Clair lives it. And I always think back to when I started. We had a superintendent named Dr. Bill Pope, and Dr. Bill Pope always said the 3 A's: the academics, the arts, and athletics, all 3 equally supported. And when you make it student-centered, you can't get lost. And a couple of the things that we want to do this year, and first of all, I'm blessed to come here because the people who came before me are the ones who forged a path. I'm driving a Mercedes, not a jalopy, and I've had nothing to do with that. That's the path that was laid before I got here, from great coaches, community people. There's an expectation here at St. Clair that And I remember when I got the job here the second time, Dr. Pope said to me, "Don't screw it up." So I hope I don't. But some of the things that we're going to be able to do this year that we have not been able to get to this year is one of the things we're going to create this year is the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And that's every month. I'm going to have 2 representatives from every sport, and we're going to have dinner on a Thursday night, maybe the second Thursday of every month, and we're just going to talk about the athletic program. We're going to have spotlight games. You know, maybe some teams that don't have many people go to, like I think of field hockey. Field hockey plays over at Boyce Middle School, and it's kind of hard for kids to get there and leave the high school to get to. But I think we're going to have spotlight games where we're going to promote those games and try to get everyone to attend to, if they can. Because there's always an athletic event going on every night, but some of the teams will gather and support those teams that maybe not a lot of people go to anymore. And we're trying to create that family atmosphere among all the athletic teams. And that also gives me a chance to talk about some of the things that I want. And some of the things that I want, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school when I'm saying this. I think social media has changed a lot of things that when we were in school. I think a lot of things have changed in terms of the information, and kids have more of a voice now than they did possibly when I was in school. And some of the things I think a lot of schools are having trouble with is the Twitter account, social media, and things that are said out there that don't represent the entire school. It's only a small population. And one of the things that I've noticed since coming back, and it's not at St. Clair, it's at all schools, is there seems to be a lot of negativity out there, among the student sections. Rather than take down other schools, I want to promote Upper St. Clair. I always remember a chant that we believe in St. Clair. And I always love that because of how positive that is. And Joe DeMar, who's the principal over at at Fort Couch, is allowing me to do some Panther time this year where I'm going to teach a class called Sports Talk. And that is where not only do I recruit about athletics, but I also can kind of get my student section going in terms of being positive. I think of a particular game last spring where we were struggling in boys volleyball. We just came out flat, and I remember our kids yelling to the particular school that you guys stink. Rather than that, how about we support our guys? And so those are things. Thanks to people like Coach Render and the coaches that came here, if you look in our gym, we have both sides of the gym filled with history of championships, section titles, state championships. Sometimes we take that for granted, but other schools would kill to have that. And what I want to try to do is get the kids that we have here now to appreciate the past and what are they going to add to it for the people that went on before us. So I think that's the more I'm with the kids, the more I'm in it, the more I can get my ideas as across as well and try to have them buy into it.
You see the intensity coming out of this?
I do.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the new facility? I'm sure people would be interested in, maybe, Lanny, someday we can film our show from up there. But
fantastic.
Why don't you give a little preview of what the building is about and the press box portion also?
Well, I'll talk about all three. And the first one was the one here at Boyce Middle School, the press box. That really is a game changer for the people who use it over here. Our freshman football team will be playing over here. Field hockey, boys and girls soccer, lacrosse practice over here. Prior to that, even practice, if it starts to rain or anything, they really didn't have anywhere to go. So now they have ample storage over there that they don't have to take things back and forth. People have, it'll be a great PA system. Little things like the scoreboard and PA system go a long way when you're having events. So that, number one, is already had an impact on us. The pool is coming along. North Allegheny hasn't had a swim meet. They refused to come here because it was a 5-lane pool, and you're talking about two of the top programs in the swim is Upper St. Clair and North Allegheny. They finished 1 and 2 in Whitfield the last 4 years. With that brings a lot of kids, a lot of programs. We're not housed to host big events like that. Now with the pool, North Allegheny's scheduled to come here this year, providing the construction, everything stays on time. We're going to have a lot of good things here with the WPIL and a lot of big meets and the facilities. The press box is such a game changer, and I've been fortunate to take a few tours up there. And first of all, what a sight line. I mean, you're right on the field. It's we were talking a little bit beforehand. Our old press box had flies in it. It was heat, and Lanny, I'm sure you have some stories there too.
I do.
we're like sardines in there, so people couldn't even move. And I think back, you remember the West Allegheny game, that big long rain delay? Well, people had to sit in there for two hours up there, and it was tough. And but now, a couple of the things I want to do is bring back the alumni. There's so many things that we can do with that press box. You're coming up on your 30-year anniversary of the state championship team, the 1989 team. Wouldn't it be great if we bring them back for tonight? Provide some food and drinks up there, and that brings more people back. So there's a lot of things. It's just really, really well done. They did it the right way. They did it with some forethought, and they just didn't blindly throw darts at the board. So again, that was all done before I got here. So I commend the people who did that.
I made a suggestion to the architect about the size of some of the coaching booths, and he took my suggestions. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy about that.
Yep.
Do I have it right that this new facility where the press box is will also be housing the school board offices?
Correct. Yeah, the administration will be there. They'll be on the second floor, and the athletic game day operations will be on the top floor. The business office will also be on the top floor, and it'll be on the far. If you're looking at the press box, it'll be on the far right, and the game operations will be in the middle. The visiting coaching offices will be on the right. And then you'll have the game day operations, scoreboard, PA system, and then if we have a broadcast crew coming in, they'll get the large room in the LGI to have a lot of room to work to operate, and more towards the 50. Then you have the home coaching side, and then you have actually a kitchenette up there next to the home coaching side. So I'm not sure if Coach had some thoughts into that one or not, but I would imagine he wouldn't want a meeting during the game. But it is really nice. It really represents Upper St. Clair in terms of putting them on a higher echelon of high school, not just sports, but as a community. It really is a pillar. I always think sports is kind of a gateway, and I'd heard you guys say before that Coach Render putting St. Clair on the map. There's no question about that. When people think of Upper St. Clair football, they think of Coach Render. We had a lot of great athletes here, but there's always been one consistent, and that's Coach. And really, it does put Upper St. Clair on the map. We're fortunate to have all three A's: the academics, the arts, and athletics. But it's nice when you can succeed in all three. It makes it a lot easier.
I had a lot of great kids. Don't diminish the fact that we had a lot of great kids. Now, staying with the press box for a minute, those of you that may or may not have heard of Huddle. Huddle is a national thing where they film the games and edit the games and break down the games. And if I understand this right, Huddle, we're on the cutting edge of some of their new development.
Yeah, it came across because Huddle has now cornered the market basically in terms of game film, and they just don't do high school; they do college and pros as well. And for a long time, we have had what's called the Gold Package, which our top three sports: basketball, football, and lacrosse have used those. But we've paid a certain fee, and they allowed the other sports to participate in them as well. They have now gotten rid of that gold package. So we kind of put together a little application. I think only like 4 or 5 schools have been able to pull this off. But with that new press box, we use that to our advantage. And I think just looking at it, it looks impressive as it is as well. But with that, they're going to give us 3 permanent cameras. We're going to put one in the gym, one in the press box, and those are automated. So if I'm a coach and I want to tape practice, I can get on my computer. It's like putting on the lights. You can get on the computer, turn on the light, turn on the camera, and it films your practice games. And there's actually 3 cameras in one, where it can take the left half of the field, the right half of the field, and the center. And as a coach, you can get on there after, zoom into whatever part you want to do, and do that. But what's really nice is, Danny Holzer is really all over this. Danny's really a film guy for Huddle. And Danny can tape every single practice, and I think about how much money we can save. Usually, we would have to we'd have to pay someone to tape those, to come in and use the Huddle. Now we just turn it on, and it's unlimited. And what goes with that is what's called Huddle Assist, where they break down the games for you, the stats, the turnovers, the things like that. So our coaches are light years ahead, and they use that anyways. So it was not hard to convince them to do that. But the press box is really what sold it, because now it's not just a football thing. everyone in that stadium gets to use it. Soccer, lacrosse, track, and basketball. You have boys and girls volleyball, basketball. So really, it's wrestling. Every sport gets the benefit of those automated cameras now.
I think his leadership, Lanny, is doing a great job along some of these new innovations.
How many teams play on the main on the football field? You got football. You said the
Boys and girls soccer, boys and girls lacrosse, track. When you talk track, I know our cross-country kids in the fall use that as well. And in the spring, when the fields are down, even baseball has gone out there and used that as well as softball. So they put those little pads down, and it's well used. Again, we talk about Friday night. We talk about like schools have open house, and I say this as a former principal. Every Friday night's an open house at Upper St. Clair in a home football game. I look at our stadium as really as our showcase. The whole community comes in. On August 26th, we're going to have a community picnic, a pep rally for all the fall sports, where we bring all the teams out and we have all the sports get introduced. The first year I think people were curious about it. Then the second year last year, it was filled in that stadium. And then this year, I've gotten more calls this summer about when is the community picnic than I ever have before. So it's really taking off. And really, I use that August 26th, and I think a lot of people are going to come this year because they're curious about what's been going on in the stadium, and it's their kind of first look in the stadium as well. But I look at that stadium as really a showpiece. Friday night football is also a community night, and where the whole community binds together for a picnic, and they have one common goal, and that is to celebrate not just our student athletes on the field, but also the community. So.
While we're on the stadium, why don't you talk a little bit about that new scoreboard that hangs on the wall of the high school?
Yeah, we have a jumbotron out there. Yeah, it just came in a couple weeks ago. I can't wait to get my hands on that and play with it, because there's a lot of things that we can do with that. And we have a film class in our school, and I'm trying to make it more academic as well, in terms of kids can do skits during the week. And we can play during the games, in between quarters, kind of more of an entertainment, but focusing on the kids. At the Pirate games, I always see, they have those interviews and, 5 things you did fun this summer. Bring the kids on there, interview them, do the big clip on there, and make it more student-oriented. It's really their time, so let's make the most of it. But there's so much we can do with that jumbotron. It's pretty neat. It'll add to the value of it. I just got to get in there and learn how to work it.
Back to the pool a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Has the pool been moved from where it, or did they renovate the same location?
No, it's going to be in a new location, right in the front of the front of the building, where the old athletic entrance is. It'll be to the right of that, so it'll be right in front of the school. The old pool is, we're still talking about what we're going to do with that room. From wellness to a multi-sports room. Again, that gives us a lot of opportunity and a lot more space for our kids. So it's going to be in a whole completely different area.
When it comes to this new scoreboard and the jumbotron, do you get tremendous support from businesses in the area?
I suspect we will. I've seen other schools do that. I know Cannon Mac does that. North Allegheny has done that. That's something I'm hoping to do in terms of. We don't corporate sponsor here in St. Clair, but there's other ways that we can kind of get through that. So.
By the way, we should thank you for you've contacted with Linda Dzinski about putting our show on your website.
Yes.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That website has been nice. We've had now, at the end of last year, we were getting 46,000 hits a month. And what's nice about that is every time someone hits on that athletic webpage, we get a little bit of a kickback from our sponsors and things. And we've been able to use that money to go directly to the kids. We've bought some new warm-ups. So that money, and Scott Birchall is gracious enough to allow me. It usually just goes in the general fund, but we use that money to give back to the kids and just get them some things that maybe we weren't able to afford before. So the more that grows, the more money we get back. So, and plus, again, it supports all sports. There's so many things we can do that. This year, we're actually going to put Game Tracker on there. So if you can't make a game and you're a football fan, you don't live in town, or maybe I played last year and I'm at college and I can't follow football as well as I can, you can now get on that football tab and it'll literally have our game clock on there. So they'll see the score and what's happening and kind of follow along, even if they're not in Pittsburgh.
That the development of that website was a priority when he first came here, and he's intense. And he
College coaches look at that too, and they follow along.
Sure.
You know, if they're recruiting. So
he's had other opportunities, Lanny, I might add. He's been pursued by colleges and other high schools, and he has great feelings for the school district of Upper St. Clair, and so far we've been able to keep him intact here at Upper St. Clair.
St. Clair gave me my start, and really St. Clair, outside of my dad, St. Clair has given me my educational philosophy, and that's student-centered, kids come first. And you know, a quick story about my dad: when I was at Duquesne, I was in charge of all the student athletes' academics, and certain sports gave me a run for my money than other sports, and some great stories there. But you know, my dad was one of only 2 people in Pitt to be a 3-sport All-American at Pitt. You know, he played football, basketball, and baseball, and he was drafted by the LA Rams and decided to stay and go to med school and become a doctor. In those times, they weren't making the money they were. And a quick story is, you know, when he was done with Pitt, he stayed on at Pitt, and Mike Ditka came along, and my dad served as his mentor, and those two remained good friends. And Mike Ditka, people forget that he went to Pitt to be a dentist. He was in dental school. And so when he got his contract, he was one of the first people to get a no-cut contract in the NFL, which was new back then, and it was $30,000 a year. And he had asked my dad, and my dad said, well, I don't know, Mike, that's, you know, you could be a dentist for your life. And my dad was swaying him to go to dental school, and Mike Ditka looked at him and he said, Doc, $30,000 for 5 years, every year. If I don't make it, I'll come back to dental school. So my dad is credited as giving Mike Ditka the worst advice he's ever had. So,
when it comes to the student athletes, not everybody can win. Mm-hmm. What is your philosophy as to how you continue to nurture those athletes that just want to play, that just love the game?
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing is, you know, and we talked about my website. You know, I don't even post the JV scores or the freshman scores or the middle school scores. You know, to me, it's all about development. When varsity, that we do post the scores, and I think it is important to win. But I think with the work ethic is the most important. When you work hard, it's like taking a test. You know, if you did your best and you didn't get an A, you know you did your best. When you're organized, you work hard, and again, with good coaches and good planning, you work hard, and it's something. Life came into like the self-esteem issue. Remember, during education, you had self-esteem was the big hot word. But it always wasn't earned self-esteem. Self-esteem is earned. When you work hard and you lose, you still feel good about yourself. You know, the kids who if you lose and you can't take it, are usually the kids who really didn't put all the effort in before that event happened. I don't know if I'm explaining that right.
Yeah,
or
you
not,
are.
But when you put it all out there, and you know, I always tell I always use this with my coaches. It's called The Precious Present. And it's a story by Spencer Johnson, and it's about an old man and a little boy, the wisdom that comes with age. And the old man says to the little boy, you're going to get a precious present. And when you get this precious present, you're going to be happy the rest of your life. And the little boy didn't know what that meant. And he became frustrated not knowing what that was. But then finally, when he became an old man himself, he got it. The precious present's not a toy or a gift. You don't fear the future, and you don't dwell on the past. You live every day to its last. You put all that effort into that one day. It's amazing how happy you're going to be. You're not stressed about the future, and you don't dwell on the past. You're just living today. I think as athletes, you know, you may have a good day or a bad day, but when you're in between the lines, you give it your 110%. So whether you win or lose, you know you left it all out there. You can feel good about yourself. And really, that's what sports teaches us, right? Nothing's guaranteed in life, but if you put your effort and do the best that you can, you're going to be a winner, no matter what the scoreboard says. And plus, that goes beyond the athletics. That goes into life. You look at I always remember Coach Render. He may not even remember saying this, but you know, he's had an influence on me too. I always remember, you know, at another school district that I won't mention, that they have all these guys in the pros and, you know, the NFL and all this. I always remember Coach Render saying, I have a lot of Hall of Famers too. They're called doctors. They're called lawyers. They're called good dads. That's what sports teaches us on how to be good people, handle adversity, work your hardest, and let the chips fall where they are. So, do you remember saying that, Coach?
Yes, I remember saying that. I should have heard your story about not dwelling on the past, or I missed that somewhere along the line. 'Cause when we lost games, I'd dwell on it, too long. So.
Well, there weren't many, so that's good.
Not dwelling on the past necessarily, but boy, sports does a tremendous job of setting the tone for people's lives and for affording individuals great memories of teammates and games and seasons.
Yeah, it binds us all back, and what I really like about, and I'll use Upper St. Clair, is I do believe in Panther pride. Whether you graduated a year ago or 20 years ago, everyone has the memory of Upper St. Clair and that community. Whether, again, it's not just athletics, but it's also walking in the hallways, the classrooms, and what a great community. Everyone rallies around. And what I like, again, I support. Dr. Pope's had a huge influence on me. Those 3 A's, all important. If you look at our building, those 3 arches, you have the academic wing, the art. If one of those arches falls, the building tilts. So all 3 have to be equally supported.
What are your thoughts about athletes playing 1 sport, 2 sports, 3 sports?
I'm all for it. I think every sport helps another sport. And plus, you're this age once in your life, play everything that you can. I think all the sports helps another sport. So I just think, especially in, people forget we're not a 6A school. We're not one of the larger school districts anymore. And so we need kids to play multiple sports. If we're going to be successful in all of them, I think you learn. I always say be a captain in another sport and bring that stuff back to our team. So I think kids should play as many sports as they can. I don't want them going home. I mean, the kids I worry about are kids that go home at 2:30 every day and don't get involved. And St. Clair, again, I love the history here, and I'll say something Dr. Kushner always said: if you can't get involved in Upper St. Clair, there's something wrong with you, because in addition to all of our athletics, we have 143 clubs that you can join. And if you don't like any of those, students have the capacity to create a club. We have a comic book club that kids have created. We have a cereal club. I never heard of a cereal club until
What's a cereal club?
Kids who sit around in the morning, they all sit and eat cereal and talk about things. They become lifelong friends just from that one club. So if we can have a cereal club, we have a club that fits everybody here. And that's why it makes this school district so special. And when kids are happy, they're going to do better in everything. They're going to do better in academics. They're going to do better in life. I always told my athletes at Duquesne that if you're not organized off the court, what makes you think you're going to be organized on the court? And, again, it's about controlling the day rather than the day controlling you. And so it's just we allow that opportunity for St. Clair.
Kevin, I hope your enthusiasm comes across, and I'm sure it will. And I also hope that I spent 40 years in the athletic department at Upper St. Clair. I hope you got 40 years in you, and so far I think you're doing a marvelous job with our department, and as you've talked about, student activities, student-oriented, I should say, and so thanks for coming on our show, and may you have a long tenure.
Thanks, Coach. Coming from you, that means more to me than you know. And as I told Dr. Pope, and I'll tell you, I'll try not to screw it up.
Kevin, thank you indeed for being on the program with us, and also thanks for allowing our shows to be on the website.
Well, thank you for everything that you do for student athletes. Every spring when we host the WPIAL playoff games up at Boyce Mayview, I love seeing you up there. It's fantastic, and the kids know it too. When they have Lanny Terry doing your game, that's not just a game. That means something. And those kids, I know for a fact, go back and re-listen to it because of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, I love doing it. 15241 Today Talk. Thanks again to Kevin Deitrick, the athletic director at Upper St. Clair, and also our thanks to coordinating producer Linda Dudzinski and our producer director Glenn Ward.